Okay. So we got up to the Mishna, right? Yeah, we got up to the Mishna.
Yes.
Yeah. Here, to Zog the Mishna. Again, continuing on the sugya of women being trapped, right? And trying to figure out whether that should be Nemon or not. So here, Shekavshua Karkum, a city that that an army literally means they were conquered, right? But the way it seems to say, Rashi says it's a motzar. It's a how do you call it? What the goyim did to us right about now.
It's a siege.
A siege, right? So Shekavshua Karkum, Kol Kahena Shenimtzu B'Saychab Sula. So any kohen, meaning Kahanas means a female kohen, meaning the wife of the kohanim, they're all puzzled to marry kohanim.
So I don't understand the Rashi.
Why?
Because the siege doesn't mean the Goyim got into the city. The siege is like happened, but they surrounded the city. So why the ladies puzzle?
Yeah, so you have to say that they were roaming around the city too. No?
That's
isn't that the way you have to say it?
I don't know, but that's not a siege.
Right, it's not a siege. You're right. So
okay,
but I guess
they were Kivshua means to be conquered. A city that was sieged, that was conquered. Why they're talking about a city that was sieged, I don't know. But Kavshua means to be conquered. They're already conquered.
But Rashi just says motzar and that's it.
I know, but the Rashi can't ignore the word Kavshua. Kavshua means conquered.
Well, it seems that he did. So that's what I don't understand. That's why I don't understand the Rashi.
Yeah, I think there are Girsayas issues, and Rashi. They say I think I saw that I mean the Toys's Rid seems like the same thing as Rashi. Yeah, but like I think that there are some different Girsayas in the Rashi.
Okay, because otherwise
be a big that would be a big.
Even the Toys's Rid is Gairis Kavshua.
He is Gairis Kavshua, yeah, but
that
he's
means
saying.
It was conquered.
Okay, so then who cares if it was conquered? How it was conquered?
That's what I said originally. You have to know why they used the Lashon Karkum, but it clearly was conquered. Otherwise, you're ignoring that word.
Yeah. So, anyways, but either way, all the wives of the Kohanim
it would make a big chiluk. The siege started January 1st, and they conquered the city in March. So those 3 months, all those ladies should be mutter. It shouldn't be mutter until the Goyim Yimach Shemam took over the city.
So that's so you have to say Kavshua.
Yeah. Okay.
No, that's what you have to say. Anyways, so all the Kohanas are out. Vim Yeshlan Eidim, but if there's Eidim, Afilu Eved, Afilu Shivcha, even if an Eved is the Eid, even if the Shivcha is the Eid, Hareilu Neman, and they're all believed. Because for these type of things, we believe even in Eid Echad, and even somebody who normally is Eid, this is no good. But a person's not believed by himself, right? Meaning, if she herself says that she was not honest, they weren't honest her, then she's not believed. Okay, so in a minute, the Gemara asks, Stira, Baleshes, and this is Gemara, if you have a Baleshes that comes to the city. So a Baleshes is like an army. B'shas Shalom, when it's peaceful in the city, the open barrels of wine are all going to be asur because we're afraid that this army was manasach the yayin to their avodah zarah, meaning they poured it, they stuck their hand in it, they mixed it, all the ways that wine becomes avodah zarah. Stuma is mutaris, but if the closed barrels are mutar because it takes too much time for them to open it, so they're not gonna be manasach. If b'shas milchama, but if it's a time of war, elu ve'elu mutaris, even the open bottles, they're both mutar lefi she'ein pnai l'nasach, because they don't have time to be menasach because they're in war, so they're busy running around. So what's the kasha? So you see that during wartime they don't even have time to be menasach yayin. How are they going to have time to be ma'anas a woman? So Amar Amari libol yesh pnai. For bia there's a pnai, the nasach ain't pnai, but for to nisach there's no there's no time. Right? Meaning, Rashi says that the pshat is that the Yetzer Hara is so strong on them, so for that they'll make time even during war, but not to be Menasich Yai. Meaning they're not so frum. They're not so frum. Bottom line is, but to be Menasich Yai into their God, that they're not going to do.
I asked
It's,
soldiers who had been in battle in Iraq and Afghanistan, and more than one told me, he said, there are three things you do when you're in battle. One is you eat, one is you sleep, and you can figure out what the third thing is if you get a chance to do. Exactly like we said here. That's all that's on their mind. Eat, sleep, and eat, sleep, kill, eat, and the fourth thing was what we just said.
We got here. Okay. It's,
all on their mind. They're very, very hyped up.
So Yaakov, it's not
sure. Yeah.
It's not by accident that it's Rav Murray who says this then. His mother was captured by Goyim.
Is that so? Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's interesting. I tell you, I mean, to say the Inyana the Yoma of like it always falls out with the daf. So I had a couple people this week whose wives have to go to the mikveh. They're in the city. So they say they're going to come up Friday night. So Friday night's Tisha B'Av. Can they? I said, I don't understand something. 10 years ago, whatever amount of time they're married, 10, 15 years ago, all I told you to do is you have to drive 2 hours to have a relations. You'd be the first person in the car. All of a sudden now, I'll wait till Friday. It's Monday. Right? So I don't know. Maybe it's fakir. Maybe these guys are fakir.
Well, that's why Satmar made that years ago. No, I mean, you go to the mountains way more than I went, but that's Satmar made that years ago, right? You had they had to come up during the week.
Something like that, yeah.
They had to come up to usually Tuesday night. Besides coming for Shabbos, obviously, but they had to come up during the week, the men.
It's Yaakov, the Ramban, the Gabi Yefas Tayar, talks about how even Klal Yisrael, that Hashem created the idea of Yefas Tayar to sort of like slow down the Yetzer Hara when it came to war. Meaning Hashem knew the nature of humans is that during wartime, like the doctor said, that they'd be very hyped up, and this would be something that would be triggered. So therefore, he had Yefas Tayar. He slowed it down, meaning he allowed it, but he did it in a way that would slow down the Yetzer to a point where they wouldn't have a taiva for it at a certain point. But he allowed it because he had to deal with the human nature.
That's interesting. That's Ramban says that.
If you read,
I think it's Ramban and Yefas Tayar.
Interesting.
If you read World War II books, the Germans, they raped every Russian when the siege of Stalingrad, which was a very long time. They raped all the Russian women, and when they changed the tables in 1945, when they went into Germany, they had the Russian soldiers had orders to rape every German woman, to terrorize them. To every girl, every woman. That was their orders.
They're doing that
now. If they wanted to, that was their orders.
They're doing that.
Some Machlokes if they were allowed to pass Shemitah before with the Yefas Tayar right away, and then she has to wait. I think it's some Machlokes.
Yeah,
not positive, but I think.
Okay, so Rabbi
It could be the Ramban is not masking to that. That's my point.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see that.
My childhood friend's mother and the sisters, they went into hiding when the soldiers came into town.
That would be a smart idea.
They went into the mountains. They went into hiding till all the Russian soldiers left. Or was it German? I can't remember. But they got out of town.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's a Baruch Hashem. At least they're smart enough for that. Yeah. Okay, so let's see weiter. What are you up to? One is talking about an army of that kingdom. If it's another one, meaning if it's I don't know why they're putting under siege, right? I guess they're doing it to make sure that they stay part of them. So if they do that, so then obviously they're not obviously, but they're not going to rape them, because if they go around raping the women, then these people are going to break off and go with the other army. But if it's a foreign army, they're not going to care. So it's not possible that one of the soldiers is going to escape and end up being mazana or ma'anis. So we're talking about where they put out guards to make sure that that they saw each other, to make sure that nobody escapes to be ma'anis any women. So Gemara says, it's not possible that one of the guards is going to fall asleep and the other guy is going to escape. Some Rabbi Levi, Kagoy, the Mahadala, Lamasa, Shashilsa, Vakalba, Vagavza, Vaavza. Right? And these are interesting ways of protecting the city. But okay, Shilshilsa is from Shalshel, is from a chain. A kalb is a dog, that we understand. Gavza is like is like sticks, and Avza is geese. That's the interesting one. They had these geese that would I guess they would protect the city, and none of these things would fall asleep. So b'meila, the soldiers were scared. Okay, Amar Reb Abba Bar Zavda, a different version of this. Pliki Reb Yehuda Nasi of Rabbanan. So Machlokes Yehuda Nasi and the Rabbanan. Chad Amar Kan Bekarkum Shaloi Samachus. One says it's talking about the karkum of that malchus. Kan Bekarkum Shalmachus Acheres, and one is talking about the malchus Acheres. V'loi kasha lei v'loi midi. He had no kasha. Right? He didn't think that there's a chashash that one guy is going to run away and be mizana. V'chad kasha lei kohanim, and the other one had all these kashas that we asked. Maybe the guy will escape. Maybe the watchman will fall asleep. They're going to have all these things: the chains, the dogs, and the sticks, and the geese. Fine. So if there's one hiding place, it will save all the women. Meaning, if there's even one place that they could hide, like the doctor was saying, if there's a place that they could hide, then we can assume that every female kohen was the one, meaning the one that we're going to get into now with rives and all that. But we can assume that every woman that comes to marry a kohen, we can say that she must have been the one to hide in the place, and therefore she is she could marry a kohen, even though. Well, let's see the next Gemara. So right now the Gemara is saying as long as there was a hiding place.
Do we ask the woman if she was molested, or we just go with this robe and all that?
I'm assuming we're going to ask. I'm assuming, but that's a good point. You're going to ask, right?
I mean, obviously, if she said yes, then she's out. I assume, right?
Yeah. If she says yes, then yeah.
I mean, if she said she was molested, then it's the end of that.
Correct. Yeah, that's. Well, I love Dafka. She may. I mean, depends if she's shot as if she doesn't. She changed her mind, but that was a few blot ago. Either way.
Okay.
So we're saying if there was a hiding place, then we could be title on that. So boy, Rav Yirmiyah, Eina Machsekes Ela Achas. Now, what happens if that hiding place could only hide one woman? Meaning, if there was a cave that could hide 100 women, okay, so we could say that maybe the cave, 100 women hid in the cave. But what happens if the hiding place could only keep one? Do we say that each woman that's coming to get married is the one that was hidden? Or we don't say something like that, because there's only so many women that could. Meaning, are you going to say that on each and every woman? Right, so the Gemara says, Mishna, Mishnei Shvilin, right? The famous case of Shnei Shvilin, right? We had it a couple of times, right? The case of two streets, two roads. Let's see how it goes. Echad Tamei v'Echad Tamar. You have one road that we know for sure one of them has a mace buried there, and one does not. And a kohen or whoever went on one of them, so we know for sure that they're tamei. But each one doesn't know which road they went on. Tyrus, and then they came, and then they touched Tyrus. So the question is now, are the Tyrus tamei? And then the friend came on the second street, and he did Tyrus. So one of these guys is going to be tamei. Again, you have two roads. So using a mashal in Faraka, in our neighborhood. One, we know that between Broadway and Central, one of them had a mace there, and one of them didn't. And we know each one of these guys went on it. We don't know, each one does not know which street they went on. Did they go on Broadway, or did they went on Central? So we know one of them is for sure tamei. So what's going to be the din? So if each one comes to ask the shiloh themselves, Tahiris the tar, right? Because it's a suffix tumah, as we know, suffix tumah rishus harabim is tar. Even though the seichel tells you, how can you say both of them are tar? Right? One of them has to be tummy, but we don't because each one is a suffix. Shneim ka'achas, if they both come to ask at the same time, then tmeis. Right? Because what are you going to do? You can't tell them that they're tar if one of them is tummy. So they got to say both is tummy. But that's also, even though that's not true either. Yeah. So it's a chumra d'Rabbanan. This is a chumra d'Rabbanan, which is a big tumult with this whole sugi of exactly how this works. Fine. Rabbi Yossi says, Benkach u Benkach Tamei, and they're both Tamei. If they came to ask at one time, everybody says the Tamei. If they came one after the other, everybody says Tar. Let's say one guy comes to ask the Shiloh, and he asks it for him and on behalf of his friend. So Rabbi Yossi says it's like they came at one time and therefore they're both tummy. And the Tanakama, who was it? Rabbi Yehuda says that if it's a zeh and therefore they're going to be tar. Here too, since we're allowing all these women, we're being matter all these women. So kibas achas dama, it's like bavas achas, and therefore we're not going to believe it. Meaning, since we're trying to be matter all the kohanos in the city, so as if they all came at the same time, and therefore you cannot be matter them. So the Gemara is trying to say that if there's only place for one, then we can't matter. The Gemara answers or asks, there for sure was tumah. We knew that one of the streets, either Broadway or Central, one of them had tumah. So we know one of these guys walked there. So therefore, one of them is vade tumah. Oh, 1 second. But here, it's like a sveka. We don't even know if one of these women was ever raped in the first place. We're just assuming that if there was that some of the women were, we don't know that. Maybe there was no woman raped. So therefore, we could be Tyler that she was hidden. What are you saying?
I probably never understood it. You could eat all three pieces of meat, right? So why is one of these guys tummy? What's the difference?
I think that's part of the taina of the machmirim who say, how do you let them eat one of the meats? Right? How do you let them eat how do you let one? Meaning we asked all three. Right? So therefore, we
matter all three.
But ikara didn't we matter. But midrabanan we make you take out one. At least according to the Ramah. I don't remember if this is one of his tainas. Right? But we definitely, according to Ramah, we make you take out one piece, like for just for optics, as they call it, right? Yeah. Anyways, okay. So but what's the maskanas advarim? Lamaisa we're mekel. Lamaisa we are mekel, and we say that. Hopefully we'll never have this shiloh, but we would be mekel based on the Gemara's teretz. Fine. So by Ravashi, Amra. Let's say she says loynich beisi v'loynit meisi. Let's say the woman says, I was not one of the women that hid in the cave or wherever the hiding place was, but I wasn't tummy. Now she has what we would call some form of migo. Right? So mi amrina on Talmud Beis, mi amrina mali l'shaker. Do we say, why would she lie? And Memela, we should believe her. Because like Rashi says, she could have just said, I was the one that was hidden. Instead, she said, no, I wasn't hidden, but I wasn't raped. Or do we not say this type of migo?
Why would she? I don't understand. Wouldn't she be worried that somebody else might say that? If it's such a small, are we asking about with one?
No, I think we're talking about in any case.
Oh.
That she said, right? She could have said anything, right? It could have been any amount of people. She said, I didn't hide, And right, so that's the shaila. So the Gemara says,
I mean, the Kiva has a point. You could go ask the people who were actually in there and see if she's telling the truth or not.
You mean there's a way to
Meaning,
to
if there's X amount of people in the hiding spot, so if she lies, she might be found, because you could just ask the people who actually were there.
I hear you.
Or maybe that's not an option. I don't know.
It's Yaakov. They bring down the Ritzvah. Taka says it's all the shiloh is only legabe, where there's only one spot, and it's because Shitaka has a very weak claim. It's highly unlikely. It's much more unlikely that she actually.
You mean that's the tzad to be machma?
Right. His whole shiloh, but it's mash according to Ritzvah that it wouldn't be if Shitaka if it's a big place where everyone could hide. Maybe it would be a pasha that you could say Migo. Mali the Shaka.
If I remember, the Machlokes has been Rashi and Tosfos on the same time.
What and how to learn the sugi?
Like Rashi's math, it's a real. She could have said Nechbesi and it would have been fine.
Interesting. Okay, I hear. But that's. I mean, it's hard to understand both tzadim here of the whole Gemara. Okay, so let's see. So Mishna, who Maisa the who Gavra? Why is it different than the story of that guy? He rented out a chamor to his friend. And the friend told him, meaning the owner, don't go on the way of Nahar Pekoy to Ikamaya because there's water there. So Zil ba'archa the Neresh delekamaya. Go on the Archa the Neresh, that street, and there's no water there, and you won't have any risk to the animal. Vazal iu ba'archa the Nahar Pekoy. And he went on the Harpakoid, which the owner told him not to do, and the chamor died. So also look at the Rava. They came in front of Rava. Amarle said, "In Borchad and Harpakoid, I said, yes, I did. I went on the Harpakoid, which the guy told me not to do. Miu loyavamai. There was no water there. And why did the donkey die? It died. So my Rava Mali l'shaka. Rava said, why should he lie? He could have just told him, you went on the Archa de Neresh. Right? So Rava was tining that he should be believed. He could have just lied and said he went on the other. It's not like they had GPS trackers back then. Right here, Akiva, maybe nowadays that wouldn't work because every rental car, I think, has a GPS tracker or something like that. They could see. I don't know if they all do. Right? That's but Rava wanted to say the guy.
They're tracking your phone anyway, so. That's
true. He could have tracked the phone. All right. So Rava says, Mali l'shaker, he should be believed. Amalei Abaya, Mali l'shaker, Makam Eidim lo yamrinon. This sugi actually has to do with Chol Yisrael. Right? But Mali, believe it or not, with Ramosha's heter. But he's saying Mali l'shaker in the place of Eidim, that you don't say. What Eidim? There's no Eidim. What are the Eidim here? What Eidim? Right? Where there Eidim? This guy said, don't travel in this road with the water. He didn't. I mean, he did, but he says there was no water. So Abai is saying we would say Mali l'shaka, which is Migu, except there's Eidim here that there was water there. So Rashi says, what's the Eidim? The Anan Sadi, the Kol Shati, Ikamaya. It's an Anan Sadi, right? Everybody knows that there's water there. This guy said there's no water there. We're not going to believe him. So that's what, I don't know if Ramosha brings this as a raya, but this is a raya that an Anan Sadi is Eidim. Right, so when Ramosha says, but the kula of Chol Yisrael, that since the government is going to make sure that nobody puts in trefa milk, it's an anan sadi, which is edus, which means that the milk is as if it's seen by a yid, right? So that's so that's what anan sadi says. Either way, that's Machlokes Rav and Abaye. The Gemara's answers no hachiyash. It's not a raya. Hasam vada ika edim di ika maya. There's vaday edim that there's water. Now everybody knows that there's water on that street. Hacha vaday itmi, but here is there anybody that knows for sure she became tamei? Chashashu, it's a chashash because we know when the goyim come to town, they're honest people. Well, magim chashasha amrinon.
This bothered me very much. There's a roiv that roiv goyim aprutzim. So don't tell me there's no chashash. There's a vada big chash. It's more than a chash. There's a roiv there.
I don't know. Roiv fruits doesn't mean roiv women are honest.
If Roiv Goyim Aprutzim, that means 95% she was honest.
Lav Dafka.
Why? What? How? That doesn't compute.
Zev, there's 100 soldiers and there's 500 Jewish ladies, and the Rive is 51%. So 51 soldiers are going to rape women. There's 500 ladies.
Well, they might rape multiple women.
They might. They might.
Even if they do, I mean, right here, right now. I mean, sometimes in their life. Doesn't mean they're always doing it.
So what are you saying? So you're saying it's just a chashash that they're.
Of course it's a chashash. It's not more than a chashash until we know it.
You make it sound like it's a 1 in 1,000 that they're going to do it.
It's probably less.
He's not making it sound like that. The Gemara is making it sound like that.
It's less
I
than
don't.
that.
Do you understand that? I don't.
What you're making it more than it is. You're saying it has to be more than it is. Where are you coming from?
Because that's a Metzias of soldiers. Yeah, that's
No,
what
I understand you're saying it's
doctors
Matthias,
say.
but clearly the Gemara doesn't hold. It's enough. It's enough of a vadai. The Gemara's going back and forth on. The Gemara says it's not nearly enough of a vadai like the road over there that's always full of water.
Really? It's always full of
Gemara's
water. We
it's a
assume
flooded
that.
road.
No,
At this point, you're asking a Shiloh Matthias. You're not asking. You're asking Matthias how vadai
We're-
is.
the Gemara is
says not
clearly
Matthias,
looking
not that vadai.
the Gemara is clearly looking at it was like that. There's vadai water there. That's without a doubt. It's without a doubt. It's not even a shiloh.
I wasn't in our prods. I don't know. In our prods,
The Gemara is assuming that it was. The Gemara is assuming that it was.
not
It's
Nahavamina. Not
Yeah,
Nahavamina
yeah.
wasn't.
Put Venice in the Narpros. The Radva says it's Venice, Italy. Okay, good. Now you understand.
Yeah. Okay. It's about. There you go. There you go.
It's the Gemara's Nahavamina is not like that.
Why? The
Gemara-
Gemara. I don't think the Gemara entertained that.
The Gemara's Nahavamina that there's no water there. And for the Gemara, the non-Sahadi that there is water there.
Are there enough guys here?
I don't know.
Anyways, okay. Let's see weiter. So im yesh edim afilu eved vafilu shivcha nemanon. If there's edim, then even an eved and even a shivcha are believed. So the Gemara says vafilu shivcha tida mehemna. Even her own shivcha is believed, meaning, which we're going to see. Maybe the Gemara is going to change this, but her own shivcha, even though her l'chayra she has negias, meaning her own private maid, says, don't worry, she was not raped. She's believed. Someone asks, or a minute, I'll ask you a stira. Right? A woman cannot have yichud with her husband, LLP Adim, only with witnesses. And even if it's an Eved and a Shivcha there, but not with the woman's Shivcha, because her heart is thick. That's a literal translation. But they hang out with each other so much, we're afraid that she's going to lie. All right, so this is talking about, Rashi says, it's talking about a case where a guy is dying, and he doesn't want his wife to have yibum from his brother. So what does he do? So he gives her a get, and he says that this get is going to be yours right before he dies. So we're afraid that there can't be a yichud there, because if there's going to be a yichud, then that's going to negate the get. So because we need a little bit more background, there's something called a get yashan, an old get, which is basically if a couple gets divorced and then they sleep with each other again, then we're afraid that she's gonna get pregnant, and mamela, people are gonna think that this kid was born because the get came later, right? So people are gonna think that this kid has got a reyes on him. So therefore, basically what we do is we negate the get. If they're ever together again, they negate the get, right? Meaning, but get yashin is really only between the time that they write the get till the time that she gives it, right? We end up paskening lemaisa once, if they're together even after the get is given, we say that they need that's an automatic marriage. Unfortunately, I had a few of these shilas. I think we discussed them, but anyways, so we're afraid, So we're afraid that that's what's gonna happen. So then they can have yichud, but her shivcha is not a good aid to make sure they're not together, because we're afraid that she's just not going to say anything. We have this by the Isser of Yichud, right? Somebody who you're very familiar with does not act baila be'ir. Normally, if a woman could stay home and have Yichud with somebody, if the husband's in the city, even if the husband's not around, right? But as long as he's in the city, because he could come home on any day. But that does not work if it's somebody who she's very familiar with, because she's very familiar with. The husband could come home and not suspect anything is wrong, because my brother's in the house with my sister, with my wife. Okay, that's normal, right? So that's why the heter yichud of baila be'ir doesn't work. Doesn't work with that. Either way, no, it comes up a lot, because let's say you have a son-in-law in the house, and the father-in-law goes out to daven, right? And then, so is there an isser of yichud of, even though there's a baila be'ir, the baila be'ir doesn't work, right? And you have to resort to leaving the front door open, which sometimes, which many shittas hold doesn't work for liba gaspa either, right? So it comes up a lot in halacha where there's familiarity. Either way, so I'm a puppy. So what's the question? So we have a stira. Do we trust her shifcha or do we not? What do you say?
Was that an excuse not to go daven?
Yes, parrots. Yes. Now that you have yourself a son-in-law.
Yeah, parrots, that takes care of your 40-minute myrivs that you go out.
It's true. How about Shabbos, Rabbi? Shabbos.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, parrots, try it out.
Well,
anyways.
What does LLPADim mean?
Who?
Loitis Yachadimoy LLPADim. What's LLPADim?
What do you mean? With witnesses, to make sure that there's not going to be nothing going on.
Where they're in the room, then it's not Yichud. Just say Loitis Yachadima.
I mean, why does it say the lashon of witnesses?
Well, it seems to be either cyclical or I don't know what. What does it mean? Don't be miyachid with her unless there's someone else in the room. Well, that's not Yichud.
Right. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why the terminology, using that type of terminology.
Why Adim if one is enough?
Well, I think it's going through the different order. Right? But you're right. One is enough. Why is the lashon using a lashon Adim? I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, so that's a stira that can we use her shifra? Can we not? So Rapabi b'shvuya kilo by shvuya they were mekel. Right? Because like we've been learning, right? Anytime you have somebody who's a shvuya, so we're mekel. Right? Rapapa Amar haba shifcha digda haba shifcha didei. No one is talking about her shifcha. Right? So if it's her shifcha, she's not believed. Shifcha b'shifcha didei, but if it's his, then she's believed. Right? Yeah, fine. The shifcha dida loy mehemna, but hers is not believed. Hakatani ain't other made al atzmai. A person can't say edus on themselves. Ha shifcha dida mehemna. That's mashma. That a shifcha is allowed to, right? Meaning, so meaning is the it's mashma that the shifcha she's not believed. That the Mishna says she's not believed on herself. Mashma somebody else is believed. Right? No, we look at her shifcha like it's herself. Her own shifcha is mamash looked at it as an extension of herself. Fine. Another teretz to explain the stira whether we trust her shifcha or not. Ravashi Amar Hava b'shifcha dida. They're both talking about her shifcha. B'shifcha michsa chazi v'shaska. See, but the shifcha, if she sees something, right, she'll keep quiet. Yeah, but so Hasam the Kasam Matirasa Lamemna by the get, where if she's gonna be quiet, that's gonna be matter to be with her husband, right? So therefore we're gonna think that she does. Right? Hacha the Shtikasa Isarta Mehemna, but here where she keeps quiet, that's gonna answer her, then she is believed. So this is a little bit of lumdisha thing. Meaning when there was a get and the shivcha just has to keep quiet and not to. They ask her, do you know if this couple that's getting divorced was alone with each other? Did they sleep with each other? So all she has to say is she's quiet. then they'll be able to stay married or get back married. So then that's going to be okay, because to keep her mouth shut is fine. But by we're asking her if she was raped, if her boss was raped, right? Then there we're gonna, I'm sorry, by the get, we're not gonna believe her, because all she has to do is be quiet. By the raping, by the goyim that invaded, she just has to be quiet, and that's gonna make her usher. So this, that she opens her mouth, we're gonna say that she is believed, which the Gemara says. So what do you mean? Hashanami asi mashakra. Who says she'll come and say a lie, right? You're assuming that if she stays to stay quiet, so she's going to be believed. Why? Maybe she'll open her mouth. So the answer is tarti loy avda, a new rule in lying for goyim. Two things she's not going to do: to keep quiet, that she's going to keep quiet that her boss was not mezana, plus open up her mouth and say that she was not, they were not ma'anisar. That's already too much. That's too much sheker that she's not going to do. What's this precedence for this? Why? The Mari Bar Asa, came and said, split. All of a sudden, out of the blue, this guy came and said, I'm your brother. Let's split our belongings. Amalei. So he said, I don't know who you are. Also, so they came in front of Chisda. It's good that you said, it's good what you said to him, that you don't recognize him. And we had this a few times. But Yosef recognized his brothers. They didn't recognize him, right? Because of the beard. So it teaches us that Yosef left without a beard and he came back with a beard. So since he doesn't recognize you, so you have to pray. You have to bring proof. So you should go bring proof that you're the brother. I do have Eidim, but they're scared of Mari because he's a strong guy. The Gavra Alamahu, he's a strong guy, and they're afraid to testify that I'm his brother. So Amalei, he said Lididei. So he said back to Mari, Zil Aisinu at Lavachu. Now you bring proof that he's not a brother, right? Amalei Dinahi, is that the din? He wants to come tell me that he's my brother and he wants my money. So the burden of proof is on him.
Why? Why is Yerusha considered a Meitzah Mechavel Baraya?
Well, because he's saying it's a brother. He's a brother. He's came
Very
out of
nice,
the blue.
but it's not a Meitzah Mechavel Baraya. You're not Mochsik in it. It's Yerusha. Because you took it, that doesn't make it your Mochsik. We know it's a Yerusha. We have no idea who the Yarshim are. You might be a Vadai.
Akiva, this father and son lived in the city for 74 years. All of a sudden, the father dies with $100 million. Some guy comes from Saudi Arabia and says, "I'm a brother. I was his brother. His father. He was my father 60 years ago, and I left the house. Nobody saw him ever." That's the case.
I agree with you, Baron. I'm not arguing that. I'm arguing the lashon of a Meitzah Mechavel Baraya. He's not a Mochzik. You can't tie a Meitzah Mechavel Baraya. You might say that I have a chazaka that I'm Ein Safik Meitzah Mider Vadai, that I'm a Vadai son and he's a Suffolk son. But don't tell me a Meitzah Mechavel Baraya. You have a din Mochzik in this stuff. That's the lashon we use when you actually have a right to it originally, and now you want to somebody else to come along and try to be Meitzah from you by saying you borrowed money from me or something. So Meitzah Mechavel Baraya, bring Eidim. There's no, you never had a din to this. It's a Yerusha. We're fighting over the Yerusha right now. It's ain't Safik Meitzah Mider Vadai, but it's not a Meitzah Mechavel Baraya.
I don't know why. I'm saying the Gemara is thinking that.
I'm asking, how are you a Mochzik? The lashon of a Meitzah Mechavel Baraya is used when you're a Mochzik. How are you a Mochzik in the case of Yerusha, when we're fighting over who is Yarshining it?
You want to start getting into who has the chazaka of the money.
Why should anyone have a chazaka? Especially until you divvy up the portion of the actual Yerusha. You don't own it, right? There's a whole shilas of shutvas and lukuchen.
First of all,
until you actually.
I'm not so sure you're right. I'm not so sure you're right. Who says that that's true?
So, who says what's true?
This guy's father died, and he has all the money, so that's it. It's his.
But it's Yerusha. You never had a multiple.
Good, but you gotta first prove it.
Prove what?
What?
What does he have to prove? Like I said, the guy doesn't have to prove it, but it's not because you're a mulksik.
I don't know what it's for, but the other guy has to prove that he's.
I just don't understand why the Gemara assumes you're a mulksik. That's all. I agree. He has to prove it.
Yeah, I hear. All right, let's see about it. It's getting late. So Amar Lei, he said to him, somebody wants to say something? Okay, so Amar Lei, Hachi da'anina lach ulekulu al michavruch. This is the way the din is for you guys and for anybody that's strong like you, right? Because that's what you have to bring the proof. So hashtanami also mashakers, and says, okay, but why? They're also going to come lie. Right? Meaning, if they're scared of Murray, so then he's going to go find Adam that's going to say, this guy, we don't know, this guy's not his brother, finished. Right? So the Gemara answers, Tarti loyad. They're not going to do two things. Right? Meaning, you might have Adam that won't come to defend this guy because they're scared, but to get Adam to actually come and testify falsely, that much you're not going to get, even for the strong guy. Fine. So Gemara says, maybe this whole thing is a Machlokes Tanoim, right? Meaning whether a woman can be a woman, not a woman. How do you call it? A slave, a maid can be believed about her master. Zu edus, because it says zu edus, right? Ish ve'isha. You can have edus from a man, a woman, tinoikus, kids. Female kid, male kid, aviyah, v'ima, even the mother and the father, achiyah v'achaysa, brother and sister, havaloi b'na, but not their son and not the daughter, loy avda v'shivchasa, not the evid and not the shivcha. So that's one brisa that says you don't believe her shivcha. Everybody's believed chutz mehemena ubayla, except for her and her husband. Right. So it seems to be that this machlokes of whether you believe her slave is a Machlokes Tanoim. So when it says the Rapapi, the Ravashi Tanoi, the Rapapi and Ravashi, right? So they for sure have to say that it's a Machlokes Tanoim. The Rapapa, but Rapapa, Milema Tanoi, does Rapapa have to say that it's a Machlokes Tanoim? Right? Amalach Rapapa tell you, no, it's not necessarily Machlokes Tanoim. Amalach Rapapa, Kitani Hebe, Masicha Lefi tumah. It's talking about what she says, Eidos, like, how do you call it? Innocently. Meaning she didn't know she was actually saying Eidos. Right? When we say that we believe her Shivcha is when she was saying, she was just schmoozing. Rav Chanan continues said over. Maisa balif ne Rabbi Shua ben Levi. V'amri la Rabbi Shua ben Levi mishtoi. Maisa, right? I'm sorry, mishtoi. Rabbi Shua ben Levi is the one that said it. Maisa balif ne Rabbi. V'adam echad shaya masich lefi tumah. V'amar. Somebody was a masich lefi tumah, and he said, "Ani ve'imi neshbinu leveinu avdi v'chav." Me and my mother were captured by the goyim. Yotzasi lishoy mayim, and I went out to draw water. Daiti al imi. My das was on my mother. Lakaretz, when I went to get wood, Daiti alimi, I was always worried about my mother, meaning to make sure that nobody was mezana with her. The seer of Likuna Alpiv, Rebbe was married her off to kohanim based on his edus, even though it was a son saying edus about a mother. Right? So we're saying somebody who's close can be believed based on the edus, based on the edus of the mother. Yeah.
Are we believing Yochsin on Masich Lefi Tumah?
Yes, that's what it sounds like.
What Masich Lefi Tumah is as a din of what?
It just makes it into a more kosher edus.
What is it? A edus halachically? What is it?
Is it edus? It's not legit. It's not legitimate. It's edus.
So then how can we be mater Yochsin Loilam Vod?
Because this is a special din by Shvuya and by it's a special din by Shvuya and by what's the other thing? Aguna. The marijuana were makel.
Even if a guy says it.
We said, what did we say? Come out with a couple of blot ago. I don't know. Did we say that a guy Masich Lefi Tumah would be believed?
Yeah.
Yes, in the case of
yeah.
a gunner, it's a case.
So so you're telling me we're gonna allow getting the kedushin, we're gonna allow marriage, we're gonna allow a guy, a liar, right? We're gonna
Correct.
believe all this because of Masech Tumah.
Yeah, there was a case. Wasn't there a case in Gemara where two people were talking about killing a Jew and died, and they were matzah the guna from that case? Wasn't there a case like that? I think so.
I don't know.
Seattle, 9/11. 9/11.
9/11 was
what?
different. It's not Masech Tumah. That's a different thing.
What about 9/11? 9/11 they used, yes.
How it works. How does halachically Masech Lefi Tumah work to a matter, HSH?
Depends if you go with Brisk or the rest of the European Rosh Yeshiva.
What do you mean?
Whether a dechad has a din of edus or a din ne'emanus. If it's a din ne'emanus, it doesn't matter who it is. Once you say it's an edechad, the Torah says an edechad is ne'eman.
It's not edechad.
It is.
This is less than edechad.
Nope.
This is a guy. This is a guy saying Masech Lefi Tumah.
The same din as edechad. It's ne'emanus, complete ne'emanus. The Torah says you believe him. Edus has nothing to do with ne'emanus. Edus, the Torah says we listen to Edim, we act according to the Edim. Eid Echad is a din of ne'emanus, belief. We believe completely what the Eid Echad says. As long as the Torah says where an Eid Echad is, or the Chazal tell us where to believe in Eid Echad, it's completely believed. Doesn't matter if it's a guy or a yid.
Yeah. Okay, it's late and we gotta because we have to catch up to do these couple of over the next what's tomorrow? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We gotta do 4 blocks. Yeah. Okay, so let's just leave it right. So some of Zechariah ben Akatzav, right? So Zechariah, don't worry, we'll only go a few more minutes. So Zechariah ben Akatzav said, Hama'ayin hazeh, meaning this ma'ayin, this beautiful building, he's making a shvua based on the Beis Hamikdash. Loizaza yada mitoch yadi, her hand didn't leave my hand. From when the Avdikam came into Yerushalayim until they left, I didn't let go of my wife's hand. And I know she was not raped. A person cannot say edus on himself. And we know Ishta is kegufay. So therefore, he's essentially saying edus on himself. Right? The shaila is he has negiyas though. Right?
Well, he literally had negiyas. He was holding her hand.
Very good, Taka. That was no pun intended, but yes. Then the Gemara says something that I don't understand.
Right,
don't
he was
understand.
even more than Shimon Negiah, right?
Yeah. Now, this next line in the Gemara, I mamish don't understand. Yeah. So ton of Aval Pikain, even though we don't believe him, Yichad loy bias b'chatzerah. We're meyachid a house for her in his chutzah. Right? Meaning, so what does this mean? That they're still married, but they can't be together. Because she yaitza
the back house.
They give him the back house. Said like a true guy who goes fundraising in LA. Yeah, like we haven't. You set yourself up for that. All right. Right.
I've been in worse than back houses in LA.
All right. Okay. Ain't nobody in Farako have a back house. All right. So. Anyway,
yeah.
You
want, but I'm this mamish negay for what you just said. Matty Cohn always says it every time. I'm sure he just said it today or tomorrow in the Shia. There was a couple who lived in Borough Park. They were married, they were married. The father-in-law took the son-in-law into the business. They had with some children, and they had a fantastic fight in the business. Whatever happened, the father forced them to do a get, right? But they didn't want to do a get. Whatever the story is, obviously I don't know the story. It doesn't matter. This couple lives in Woodmere in next door houses to each other. The man lives in one house and the woman lives in the other house with the children. Your mom is next to each other. Yeah.
You serious?
Divorced. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay,
You
we'll
told
see how
us
the
this story
Gemara.
already.
I know I told you it's a
I don't
unbelievable
remember.
story. I can say it.
I don't remember it. I don't remember it. Okay, we'll see how the Gemara between today's daf and tomorrow's daf works that out. But anyways, so the Gemara say,
Peretz, can you delete that from the tape? From the shit, that part?
don't worry. But that's so far into the shir, don't worry. But anyways, so now because he yaitza b'raish now, when she went out before her kids left, right? So she wouldn't be there alone with her husband because she nichneses b'sayfa now. She went in at the end of her kids, meaning she was never left alone with her husband. So what was the point exactly? What was the point? Other than the story Rabbanan just said. Fine. So boy abaya, ma'ulas begrusha can you do the same thing with a grusha? Right? Meaning can a kohen, because a kohen divorces his wife, he cannot marry her. A Yisrael divorces his wife. Okay, let them live in the same neighborhood. They can get married to each other. They can get remarried. But a kohen can't. So ma'ulas begrusha can. Hasahu de shvuya hekila. Maybe by a shvuya they were mekel. Because we don't even know for sure if she was ever honest. Actually, there in that story, he says he never even let go of her hand, right? But here, by divorce, we're not going to let. It makes no difference, right? And a kohen can live in the same chutzner as his wife, as his ex-wife. So Tashema, the Tanya, we learned the right. Somebody divorces his wife, he cannot get married and she can't get married and stay in the husband's shchuna, right? They're not allowed to live in the same shchuna. But if he was a kohen, they can't live in a mavui together, right? Let's say it's a small city. A kfar katan is judged like a shchuna, and therefore, if she gets remarried, she cannot live in the same city as the husband. I'm not sure how we paskin like this. I actually have a case right now dealing with this where a guy, they got divorced. He and she got remarried and is living in a town. And now this guy, her ex, got himself engaged and is moving in. They wanted to move into the same building that this person lives in. And these people have no shaykhs to the city. No shaykhs to the city that they live in. Right? Not him and not her. So they're chayshed that he's just wants to be there to make meshuga. So that's all. And then he showed up in the same shul, whatever. It's a tumult. But yeah.
I'm saying the shchuna in the same neighborhood, they're allowed to live?
I mean, you see it's done. You see it is done nowadays.
Right, I'm asking.
I'm not sure. I have to be researched tonight, Bez Hashem, exactly what the Hanhaga Lamaisa Bismana says. For some reason, I think that's not the Hanhaga. Either way, okay, it's late, so we'll stop over here. So tomorrow, Bez Hashem, we have to do a little bit longer. What?
Taisa says 3 houses. Within 3 houses.
Yeah, so I don't know how that applies nowadays.
Right.
I don't know how that. I'm just not sure how we apply it.
Okay.
All right.
Shkoyach,
everybody. Sag gesund.
Shkoyach.
Jacob, what they serve over there to see him tonight?
Some meat, some hot dogs. Which see him in camp or in my mother's house?
Your Gershon made us see him, didn't he?
Yeah. How do you know? Oh, because you didn't let Simcha go.
Yes, I did not let him go.
I hear you. There's a gone to politics. My kids came to me and said, Simcha said he should ask your father, and if your father says, then it can go. And then they said, no. Simcha's father said no.
Jacob, that's goof for the problem.
I would do the same thing, Aaron.
I agree. I know. I don't blame him because I would also. But
yeah.
I gotta call you, Taco. We'll talk about it later.
All right, fine. Now I gotta go find myself a miter somewhere. Okay.
Hey.
Summer
don't have one.
They do, but it's such a schlep and back and forth and whatever. Yeah. What?
Shkoyach.
Shkoyach to you. Thank you.
I actually made to see him today.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
On Yavamis?
On Yavamis.
All right. What'd you serve?
I didn't serve my office. I did it with my office. I've done a few semen there. So they served, I don't know, steaks, hamburgers, hot dogs, chicken.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah.
All right, very good. You should make many more siyum.
We will.
Bez Hashem. Bez Hashem. All right. Sei gesund.
Gute Nacht.
Good night.